You're listening to Parasearch Radio. News, views and reviews from the world of the paranormal from across the UK and beyond. Find us on Facebook, Twitter and the World Wide Web. The views and opinions expressed by presenters and guests are their own and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of Parasearch Radio or their affiliates and sponsors. Listener discretion is advised.
It's Monday evening, and you're listening to Joe and Gemma on the Supernaturelle show.
Hi guys, good evening and welcome to this week's episode of the Supernaturelle show. Joe's not with us tonight, unfortunately. She's away sizzling, and I mean sizzling in the sun. It's all right for some, isn't it? But tonight I've got a great guest for you tonight, all the way from across the pond. So without waffling on too much, let me introduce you to our guest tonight. So tonight we are joined by Vinnie Vineyard. Hi, Vinnie.
Toot, toot, baby. It's time to ride the funk train. And thank you, beautiful women's from across the seas, to let me get on the show and peddle my wares and my jibber jabber.
You jibber jabber. Are we starting as we mean to go on, Vinny?
Carrie, what are you doing here? I would have dressed up if I knew you were around.
I think Kerry's actually off.
Sorry, hold on.
Oh, there we go.
Sorry, my mic was off. That really wasn't supposed to be part of the show, Vinny. Just saying, but carry on.
Beautiful. Well, thanks for having me on there, ladies.
You're very, very welcome. Anytime. So, Vinny, let's talk a little bit about you.
My favorite subject.
Yeah, well, exactly. How did you get into the paranormal? Let's start with the basic and let's build it up. So, okay. What about the paranormal dragged you into it?
I had a really interesting. I don't know. It's just it was like it's one of those things. I was an adult and I got kind of kicked into the pool. There was a night. Do you guys have Coast to Coast AM over there with George Norrie and Art Bell and all that? Do you ever hear that? It's an American. I guess Coast to Coast means it's just American, but it's a late night UFOs, and they talk about Bigfoot and all that stuff, secret societies and all the cryptids and all the delightful stuff. They had it's tremendous. It's a tremendous show. And it's been going on for years and years and years. And it's about, it's like midnight to 5 a.m. And I was listening to it one night, and they were sitting there telling I don't know what they were talking about. I can't remember. But I was driving into work, and I used to be an alcohol and drug counselor for children, not babies, because that would be horrible. I'd be like, no,
I probably shouldn't laugh at that, but seriously, you can't say stuff like that and not expect me to laugh.
It's like, no, don't take the PCP, take the rattle. No, a little older. They were adolescents, let's put it that way. So anyway, I was a third shift drug and alcohol counselor for them types of kids, and it was in a remote part of Tennessee where I did this. It was very out of the way.
Yeah. And
I was driving into work, and I was thinking, it's weird, and I wonder with all the bad energy why we at this particular location, even though it was a new facility, why there was no paranormal activity or anybody bring anything in. So I was just thinking that as I was listening to the Ghost Show under a full moon, driving in on the beautiful, beautiful Tennessee highways to get to this place. And as I go in, this place is like a shotgun building. It's basically you can see one end to the other. In the center, there's a gymnasium and kind of an office and a nurse's station. But one side has kind of dormitories and the other side has offices. So, but you can see one end to the other, pretty much. Yeah. And on one side of the wing, we had 8 girls. I think it was 8. You could have 8 girls and 16 boys, or it was 4 girls and 18, whatever. It was 24. But basically what was happening, there were no doors on the suites, and they were all on the same side of the wing. Mm-hmm. So basically you were a hormone goalie You were just trying to make sure no boys were slipping into the girls' dorms at night, and there was no sexy time for the kids, and there was no gang initiations or violence or drug use. That's basically what you were. It was like Pong, just like get back in your, quit trying to get into Christine's room here. Boom, get back in your bed. But that particular night, you go down and you're just kind of making sure nothing dangerous is happening and everybody's safe. And if a kid has a problem, you can counsel them at that point. But mainly, you just were sitting around waiting for something to happen. And it's dark because it's nighttime and you want the kids to sleep. And so I was down in the hallway, and a number of things that one particular night happened. I was being attacked repeatedly by moths. I kept hearing men's voices in the girls' rooms, and I'd run in there to make sure there was no hanky-panky going on. Or they were grown men's voices too, so that was kind of disconcerting. But I couldn't find anything. And eventually I was walking down the hallway, and I passed this one kid named Justin's room, and he sits straight up in bed with his eyes rolled back. It was really freaking creepy. And he was looking at me with I couldn't see his irises or pupils, but he was looking right at me, kind of with the whites of his eyes. And he goes, "Buy me a PA today, JR." And I stopped in my tracks, and he fell back in the bed. And I was like, "Buy me a PA today, JR." Well, I'm a bass player, and I was in a band called Pimpin' Ain't Easy, and because it's not easy. But that day, my lead singer, J.R. Horn, bought a PA system for the band. So there was this weird, and there's no way this kid would have known it. They were all asleep by the time I didn't come. And I didn't come in going, "Hey, we got a PA," because nobody cares. So it was like this weird spiritual thing where there was whatever's on the other side was screwing with me, letting me know they knew who I was. And this thing came out of his mouth, "Buy me a PA today, JR," on the day that JR bought me a PA. Nuts. So my 2 hours down there ended, and it was kind of a strange 2 hours. Like I said, there was always voices, and that thing happened, and moths kept slapping me in the face and reminded me of Thanksgiving dinner. Anyway, so I went down to my office, opened the door. My office was ransacked. And as I was sitting there going, "What the hell happened to my office in here?" I heard a little voice behind me about halfway up my shoulder blades, and it went, "Hey, hey." And I turned around. I thought it was one of my fellow counselors, because I was working with two girls, and nothing was there. And then I was like, "What?" And so I yelled up. Like I said, it's a shotgun type place. And I yelled up to the main kind of area, the admission area and the office area. And one of the counselors was doing paperwork. And I said, "Hey, Jamie, where's April at?" She goes, "Well, she's in the kitchen, and the kitchen's on the other side of the wing." And I'm like, "You won't believe this." So I walk up to her, and I'm like, "You won't believe this." I said, I opened my door to the office there, and I heard a little voice behind me go, "Hey, hey." And the blood drained from her face. And she said, "Earlier tonight, behind me, I heard something give out 2 short breaths." And that made me wig out, because the thing didn't say, "Hey, hey." I just made it say that because it's easier to say, it's just shorter.
Audio,
what it actually did,
yeah.
What it actually did was let out 2 short breaths, like, and kind of how you can, when people are talking, you can tell if they're smiling or if they're mad or whatever, just by the way that it sounded like it was a little kid with a big smile on its face going, and I'll never forget what it sounded like. And so we were like, what in the world is going on? So she goes out to smoke. And like I said, we're in Tennessee, these beautiful rolling hills, and these, like, it's right near the mountains. And we have a barn full of like camels and emu and tauntauns and just all sorts of crazy animals in this particular barn for the kids to have therapy. I don't know. They don't want to do drugs. They go out there and pet a camel. I'm not sure how that works, but that's what we had them there for. But at that point in the night, the animals were going crazy. It was they were sounding like, it almost sounded as bad as like if there was a circus fire, and the animals were in the flames. They were going absolutely bonkers. And over the rolling hills, you could hear a man's voice chanting in another language. And since we're Americans, we only know English. So we had no idea what he was saying. And so we were like, what is happening? And from that point on, I started telling the story of Hey Hey to scare part-time workers and feeble women and old men. And I'd laugh at their reactions and stuff. But things kept escalating and escalating and escalating. And I would see full ballpoint pens on the floor. They would jump up and point in another direction. There would be knocking on the walls that would get louder and louder and louder. It wouldn't just be like the house was settling or whatever, the building was settling. We had part-time workers come in, use the bathroom, throw the keys on the desk, then say, I'm out of here. I'm never coming back. We're like, what happened? What did you see? They wouldn't say nothing. Black smoke would shoot out of one of the registers on the roof and shoot down the hallway into the other register for the air conditioning unit. Just a big plume of black smoke. Like, what? And then, like, it kept, and you guys know because you're in the paranormal, well, the Hey Hey was short because when she said Hey Hey, she was down there around, halfway between my butt and my head. And then another entity was seen, like another shadow figure was seen. It was much taller. And it started to affect the children. Like they started trying to act out sexually, like they were ripping holes through the sheetrock so they could shoot stuff into each other's mouths. If you catch my drift, I don't want to get too gross. I don't know if people probably eating or whatever, but they were fighting and it's just unbelievable. They were, gang initiations, and the staff was acting weird. The staff was acting bonkers, and they were temperamental and petulant and all this stuff. And friend of mine said, Vinny, this is funny, and I know you enjoy terrorizing the part-time workers and the PRN staff and stuff with the story, but there's probably something dark and evil there. And I never used to be a guy that believed in God until he kind of revealed himself to me. But I used to listen to Malachi Martin talk about how he, just real basic ways that he would try to bind spiritual stuff. And I followed what he said. One night I went in there, and as I was walking into the building in my office, I saw a shadow of a man with stars flying all over his head and around him. And he had his hand up like he was waving at me. And it was like this silhouette. And I went in there, every room, and I did a blessing. And from that moment on, that horrible, crazy stuff and the darkness was never around anymore. There still was some hijinks and almost like a little kid screwing around, but all the evil that was kind of brought into the place, that subsided. So that was my foray into the paranormal. It was a big, it was kind of a joke in the beginning, and then over the course of a few months, it turned into something that was actually kind of a real life situation.
And once that passion starts, it's like a roller coaster, isn't it? It just doesn't stop, and then you get dragged down so many different rabbit holes. It's unreal. So you are wrestling with ghosts.
Well, I'm part of the TV show.
Part
yes.
of, yeah. So how did that come about, and where did the name come from?
Well, my name is Funkmaster V. Most people know me as Funkmaster V, and that comes from when I used to play music. I was in an all-white hip-hop band that played funk covers and hip-hop covers of the most disgusting songs you've ever heard of. And when I got tired of playing music and traveling around, I got into pro wrestling. And I've always wanted to do it. I got it in my late 30s, and that was a lot of fun. And I used the name Funkmaster V in the wrestling world. And I started to run around with a friend of mine named, I met a guy named Big Luke Walker. And Carrie knows this guy, and I think they have like a little flirty kind of relationship going back and forth. But this guy's 7 feet tall, long hair, big old beard. Hell of a nice guy, kind of an a-hole too, but that's just how it goes. And he
just sticking my 10 penny worth in there.
Yeah. Well, hey, we get that sometimes. It's funny. I get gay men from Ohio, and he gets hot British chicks. It's not funny, but so anyway, we got just to make a long story even longer, we got invited to kind of resuscitate this dying television show. It was a wrestling television show for Fox. It was a regional broadcast, and it was already like a decapitated human being, and they asked us to do CPR. And we got experience making television for a pretty big show, several thousands of viewers. And some people liked it, but it was difficult, and there was a lot of handicaps, and there was just a lot. The main guy that was in charge of filming and kind of editing footage, he was dying of cancer, so he smoked pot all the time. So when I would get the footage to make a show out of it, was just horrible. It was, the sound was all jacked up, or everything was out of whack. He was just stoned out of his head, and he was just doing a bad job, and I'd have to repair what he did.
Yeah.
But we got experience, and then we got fired eventually, and the show went to hell, and the show went off the air, and so we didn't really have a project. And this guy this little twerpy paranormal investigator comes to Gatlinburg, where we live, and he's like, I'm doing a documentary about the area. And he talks to Luke, because Luke was a manager of a restaurant, and he talks to Travis Graves, who's another one of our people of Wrestling with Ghosts.
Yeah.
And they started talking about doing a documentary, and Luke's like, man, you got to check this guy, Funkmaster V, out of Pigeon Forge. This guy's a nut. He wears, he's got an afro and wears a mink coat around everywhere. So you got to check this guy out. He's a business owner and blah, blah, blah. So we decided, hey man, let's make a show. And we started making this show called Wrestling with Ghosts. And it's really, the name of the show comes from this twerpy paranormal that used to be with us. He had an investigation on top of this mountain at a place called the Rabbit Man Cabin.
Yeah.
And he got into a fist fight with his guys up there. They were trying to land a quote unquote TV deal. And the spirit of this guy who murdered a bunch of teenagers that messed with his rabbits started to take over the team. And the kid was like, oh my God, I'm going to get killed up here. And he called his mom on the phone. I'm going to get killed. I'm not going to make it down. But there was a real serious demon oppression thing. And at this point we were like, whatever. But we thought for the show, it'd be like, well, let's do this. You're a paranormal investigator. We're wrestlers. We'll make it Wrestling with Ghosts. We'll make it to where you hired us to protect you. And then the first season, we'll go back. Well, over the course of the season, the guy is just a pathological liar, a very unlikable guy, and terrible on TV, but just a horrible human being. And we got rid of him. Mm-hmm. And we decided at the end, the three wrestlers, hey, we'll go back up and check out the mountain. And lo and behold, I'm not kidding you, if you ever watch episode 6 of season 1, called The Rabbit Man Cometh, the same thing happens to us. Luke gets affected by the spirit. Another kid named Dalton Stout. And then me and the cameraman are like, what's happening? And Luke has to basically leave, because he was like, dude, I wanted to pick you up and throw you out of the damn window. And me and him's never had a cross word in our relationship. And it was just this weird demonic thing that took over. I don't know if it's demonic. It was just a weird situation. It seemed like it got dark. And as far as the story of the first season goes, it's fantastic. But as far as looking back and seeing, and when you watch this episode, if you watch the others, you see that, oh man, there's a lot of happiness, and we're always joking, and it's always about big-legged women. Hey, how you doing, Carrie? And about food and music, and that night, man, it came about life and death, and him trying to control himself. It was wild.
Wow. And then on top of that, I mean, you guys. Is it ASY Paranormal TV?
Yeah, I guess
you guys are doing.
Yeah, I mean, I think we would pronounce it ASY. We put a little soul in that second syllable there, but it's the same. It's ASY.
Should we just have a practice? Say it again. I'll get there. Don't worry.
No, I like how you don't listen.
No. Come on, let's do this. We're gonna get it right. If we're gonna do it, we're gonna do it right. What's it called?
I'm gonna start pronouncing like you. You guys have the Queen's English. We don't know how to speak this stuff.
No, you see, this is it. Some people have the Queen's English over here in the UK. I have what can only be described as, common.
Well, what's funny, this is actually interesting. I don't know if you guys, but I would find this interesting coming from somebody else's perspective, because America and Britain are supposed to be best friends in the world, and so, but we're largely ignorant of each other a lot of times. But I started listening to Ricky Gervais and Carl Pilkington and Stephen Merchant's radio
we love
shows.
Carl Pilkington over here in the UK.
He's fantastic. And so we started listening, and I could tell the difference. I could tell one of them was from London, one of them was from Manchester, and I think one of them was from Bristol, I think. Bristol. And you could tell, and I learned later on with friends, you can actually tell if somebody's rich or if somebody's educated or where they're from by the way they speak English in England.
Oh, darling, of course, naturally.
And see, in America, you can't do that, because like when I first moved down south, the smartest people a lot of times are Southerners, and they'll be like, "Well, let me tell you something here. This is the Fibonacci sequence here. So you go 1 + 1 is 2, 1 + 2 is 3, and then 3 + 2 is 5, and that's how that sequence goes out." And you're like, this guy sounds like a moron, and yet he's got like 190 IQ. And then you got some people from Queens that are complete geniuses, and then some of them are like, "Hey, how you doing? Hey, I want a tuna melt." You just like. You never know. You never know what you're going to get into with these accents here.
Yeah, you see, in all fairness, over here, I would say it's pretty much the same. Like, just because of how somebody speaks doesn't define their intelligence.
Sure.
But I think over here, because we've got so many different accents, and with all the little counties, there's different twangs. Like, I'm Lincolnshire, but can sound Yorkshire an awful lot. So it's difficult, but, we do digress here. Look, we are digressing. What's that got to do with the paranormal?
Well, I think it's interesting. I'm a big fan of linguistics and stuff. And I used to, man, when I was a kid, my best friend was a bunch of atlases and a robot, so I didn't have a lot of human friends. So yeah, I used to look at maps. I was just fascinated. I've always been fascinated with that type of thing. But anyway. So we're launching ASY Paranormal, and look, it's not an app. This is what we're doing here. I don't know how it is in the UK or anywhere else in Europe, but in the United States, cable television is dying. People are going with streaming services left and right, and the cable.
I would say that's the same over here.
I would imagine, because cable is expensive, and you can get these streaming services for next to nothing, and so in these cable reality television is not reality. I've been on several pilots. I'm an actor. Luke is an actor. When we've been in pilots for reality TV shows, there's a script, there's a writer, there's a producer. It's all hogwash. None of it is real. Mm-hmm. And so we have, and again, this Friday, we launched the network Friday, and we got contacted by A&E again. We've been contacted by every American cable network that does paranormal stuff numerous times. Hey, we're interested in you guys again. Can you do this for us? And it's gotten to the point where we're like, man, just blow off, because they're not going to take a chance on us, because our show is very American and it's very free. It's not what cable television has become. And let me tell you, the three things they want from us. They want us to act afraid of ghosts, and it's not going to happen, because I think paranormal television has ruined the paranormal field in some ways, and it's helped it in some ways.
Yeah, totally agree. The fact that it's actually out there and it's getting people into the paranormal is great. Right. Never going to discount that. But, and this is a massive but, because I used to watch, and I say used to because I no longer do, but I used to watch every single paranormal TV program going. Yeah. Religiously. I would have my recorders set, and if I wasn't going to be in, I'd watch it back at a later date, and I was hooked, absolutely hooked.
But
they're all the same, are they not? Are they not all the same? There's a noise, so people scream and run away from it.
That's right.
You're investigating, off you go.
And that's the problem, is because the paranormal is not good versus evil. It's not demons and angels. It's not, you don't have to do it in the dark room. It's all for television. And so they want us to be afraid. We're like, look, man, Luke's 350 pounds, used to be a cop. was a Baltimore gutter fighter. What do you want from, I'm not going to be afraid of a freaking thing. Oh, it knocks over a Coke can. I'm going to run out of the room. And I don't give a crap. That's what I want. I want it to do that because I want good evidence. So they want us to be afraid. They want us to cut out a lot of the humor that we do, and we're not doing that. And then they also want us to fake evidence, and we're not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing, and the weird thing is, I don't know if Luke, I think it's Luke, to be honest. Luke is a lightning rod for paranormal activity. And you can watch our show, and every time he's around, dude, it's unbelievable. The amount of evidence we capture is insane. It's just insane. I hear people all the time going, well, most of the time when you go out, you don't get anything. We always get something. We always get multiple things. Probably one. I can count on one hand the times we've gone out where nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times it was because one of us was extremely tired, or one of us was not in the mood, or whatever. It was like we weren't even really feeling going out anyway. But on our show, Wrestling with Ghosts, which is on our network, ASY Paranormal, we want everything to be real, and we want it to be old school. Because look, I think the thing that has helped the paranormal industry is it was almost like being a homosexual. You would be afraid to admit that you believed in ghosts or had an experience.
Yeah.
But because of television, now it's mainstream. In America, people look at you like you're an idiot if you talk about ghosts. Now it's not so much the case. There are still sometimes people are like, what? You'll run into a couple people that are pretty jerky about that stuff, but they just don't know. They haven't had the experience, so they don't know. But I think paranormal television has helped that. And then, but it's also made it to where that anything supernatural is evil. And I think that's moronic.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, and no disrespect, please do not take this the wrong way, Vinny. But since what they're called, Ghost Adventures came out, I swear to God, the word demon flies around like you've never seen before. It's like everything is now a demon.
Oh yeah, and I mean, if you're talking about what we do on our show, the guy that was on our show, everything was a demon, and we used to make fun of him. That's why we said demon all the time. Is that a demon? I mean, we'd hear something knock. Oh, is that a demon? We were making fun of every time you hear that on a show. We're making fun of him because it's stupid. And then
it's quite refreshing for somebody to actually say, "What a load of rubbish."
Yeah, well, man, you don't know what it is. None of it. There's no paranormal expert. That's the other thing too.
Oh, God, Vinny.
There's people
Thank you.
There's online degrees, and you're a demonologist, and you're a certified predicator, and you're now a medium of the highest order.
I paid a whole £10 and became a parapsychologist or whatever it is that it was. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
did it in 10 minutes. And
in fact, I should probably start a website accrediting people and giving them bullshit degree. Oh, I don't know if I can cuss, but anyway.
Oh, just let it out, love. Let it out.
Now I feel much better. Now I'm with my girls. But so anyway, that's the gimmick. Is we don't know if these things are aliens, if they're demons, if they're angels, if they're dead people, residual energy, creatures we can't perceive, time travelers. Something going
slips, anything.
Yep, somebody going from one dimension to the other.
Yep.
I mean, a lot of people who are in the paranormal thing, they're religious, and the Bible says there's a dimension we can't even perceive. So what if there's creatures all around us we can't even?
But again, that has a massive impact on the paranormal field, people's belief system.
That's exactly right. You won't hear the word demon outside of Christianity, Islam, or Judaism. If you're any other religion, there's no such. They don't even talk about that type of thing. It's not even on the radar. So anyway, with our show, it's there's a lot of humor, but when stuff gets real, we get some of the best paranormal show evidence that we've ever that's on TV. I mean, when we launched Friday night, we released an episode where we go and investigate an abandoned amusement park called Valmar's Park in Bowling Green, Ohio.
Vinny, can I just ask you something? Right, because ASY I'm probably saying it wrong again. Because that only launched on Friday, does that mean that Parasearch is the first UK show to have you on?
It will be.
Go Parasearch.
Yeah, I've been dude, I've had a lot of people. I've been in Canada. I've been in Brooklyn. I've been in California. A lot of people have interviewed me, Coast to Coast AM. I've been very happy with a lot of the media that we've got. But yeah, you guys are the first Brits, and
Awesome.
I've got a couple more lined up. But I always love talking to you guys. But we go to an abandoned amusement park, and across the Maumee River is an island of human bones called Grave Island. And I bet Luke $50 if he kayaks over there. I was kind of half wanting to see him fall into the river, but
when things don't go to plan, you just have to roll with it, right?
Right. Well, he was a champ. He actually, I mean, a 7-foot guy in a kayak is almost like a guy on a tightrope riding a bicycle. I just expected a gust of wind to knock him over, but he made it over there, and you'll have to watch the episode to see if he found any human bones. And that was pretty wild. But the whole reason I'm even bringing that up, 2 of the best EVPs I've ever seen on any TV show. And I'm like you, I don't watch paranormal stuff. So if something's come out in the last 8 years, I don't know. But there's 2 EVPs, same voice. Now, Luke is from Chicago. I'm from Baltimore. Travis is from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. And Fisher is from Fisher, the docent of the property, who's a musician. He's from Toledo, Ohio. None of us are originally from the South, even though we 3 of the 4 of those people live in Tennessee now. But we're in there, just jabber-jawing, trying to get EVPs, and we hear this guy. It sounds like Deputy Dog, and he's like, and it's the clearest thing ever. And I'm not going to bust the surprise of what he says, but he's very polite. But it's something like, "Hey, you guys want a Pepsi?" I mean, it's so loud. We're like, "Who is that?" And then we were like, there was nobody else. None of us talk like that. None of us joke like that. And it was the craziest thing, and it happens twice. And one time, all 4 of us are talking, and it's just clear as a bell. And it's just like, whoa. And the next episode we drop is going to go is a church in Tennessee. And a lot of people don't understand that Tennessee almost didn't join the South in the Civil War over here, because East Tennessee, where we live, they were Union sympathizers. So we go to a church where the people who went to the same church worshiped the same God, but half the congregation were Confederate sympathizers, and half of the other congregation were Union sympathizers, and they would actually bury the people in different parts of the graveyard. Like you wouldn't be next to a Southerner,
Uh-huh.
So we go in there, and I swear, if this gets out, and it will, because a lot of people are subscribing to ASY Paranormal, if it gets out, this is the best full body apparition I've ever seen. It's on camera for at least 20 or 30 seconds. It's unbelievable.
Can I just ask you a really big question about this apparition? Please don't think I'm taking the piss, but is there a red ring round it? Because without a red ring, people aren't going to see it over here,
Without a red ring, they're not going to see a what?
They won't see the apparition over here without the red ring. Everything that comes out over here is literally red. I'll send you a picture, Vinny.
So so that is that a joke or something, or is that what people? Or is every full-body apparition in England got a red ring around it?
No, every full-bodied apparition that I've seen in the UK isn't actually an apparition.
Oh, you're saying it's fake?
Yeah. Well, I'll send you a picture, and then you can make of that as you wish.
Well, this is what's interesting about this gimmick. So we're in the graveyard, and when I first, again, this is almost like the EVP, like we're talking about with Valmont's Park up there in Bowling Green, Ohio, or Toledo. The voice was so loud, the EVP was just like, this has to be one of us, and it wasn't. This, I thought, when they showed me the footage, I was like, that's just a tombstone. That's like a statue. They took me to where it was. There's no such statue.
Is this all on camera then, Vinny? Can people actually see you going back as well? And
yes,
cool,
absolutely. And you, the gimmick was that you could, with your raw eyes, you couldn't see it. It was only appearing on film, which is nuts. I don't even understand it. Like, it wasn't, you couldn't see it with your naked eye. You had to be looking through the lens. This is the thing about our show too. We are amateurs. We have no idea what we're talking about. We just now had a K2 meter on one of our investigations. We're not high tech. We're high touch. We're about recording and seeing things. And like, I think a lot of those gadgets are toys, and I don't know really, and I'm not trying to insult anybody. But on our show, we don't mess with those very much.
The way I see it is, Vinny, everybody is entitled to their own opinions on everything. Not everybody's going to agree with your opinion, but do you know what? Those that don't agree, let's discuss it. Let's talk about it. You put your point across, I'll put my point across. We'll meet in the middle. And if we have to agree to a disagree, then fair play. But I'm with you. A lot of the equipment used doesn't give us any proof of paranormal activity.
And it's not, when you're trying to have a television show, I understand you want to do different things, and you don't want to do your same episode more, you don't want to do the same thing over and over and over again. You'll bore everybody to tears. But I just think if you can't hear it and you can't see it, who cares? Like, if I've got a K2 meter going crazy and I'm an agnostic watching at home, I'm going to be like, I don't even know what the hell that thing is. I don't know what it's picking up. I don't know. It looks like a toy. It's got red lights, green lights, orange lights.
And that's the only reason people use it, because they either make a noise or flash. It
Right.
doesn't prove paranormal in any single way, shape, or form.
And it never will. So,
and the other thing, Vinny, now look what you've started. You've got me off on one now. Look, love, you're going to regret this conversation, I'm telling you. In fact, afterwards, you're probably going to be saying to Kerry, why on earth did you let me loose with that crazy bird?
No, you're wonderful.
The one thing that is really, really proper grating on me at the minute is when I hear people say, I'm looking for environmental changes. Okay, so explain those environmental changes to me. What exactly are you looking for? And then it's almost like I'm the thick one. Well, I'm looking for environmental changes, aren't I? Yeah, go on. Give us a clue.
Well, I guess what they're talking about is just what the temperature drops, right? Is that cold spots or something? Is that what they're...
But what exactly does that prove?
Nothing. Thank you.
Because 9 times out of 10, you're using a laser pointer that's going to a specific point on the wall. It's not actually measuring the area that you want it to.
That's a good point. It's measuring the wall.
So there's going to be a change of temperature between body heat and said wall.
Yeah. See, you got to figure it out. See, and I'm not pooping on anybody. I'm not shoo-shooing on anybody's parade or peeing on anybody's parade. We're not that kind of group. Now, with the network, when you sign up with us, we do have the tech nerdy guys. We do have a show where there's guys with the thing. They got the lights on the head, man. They are just decked out in hundreds and thousands of dollars of freaking equipment, and they look like robots. They got so much stuff going in there. And if you like that kind of thing, then bada boom, there you go. But on the network too, man, we have the UFO show with Amy Dumas, who's WWE's Lita. We have like the behind the scenes of a haunted attraction, like a haunted house. We have kids playing zombie video games, and people like watching that stuff. And we have comedy type stuff. We have like Carrie Greenway is going to be on there with Parasearch. She's going to have her own show. So I guess she's producing your show, I guess, today.
Well, I think that might have been a bit hush hush at the minute, but
it's not happening.
You've just announced it, Vinny. So at that point, we may as well bring Kerry in. Kerry, come in.
Okay, what's happening is the whole of Parasearch Radio is not just me, Vin. It's not just me. Just going to say, it's the whole of Parasearch Radio is linked now to ASY Paranormal.
Beautiful.
So every single show that goes out on Parasearch is available on ASY Paranormal. And if any other shows get produced via Parasearch Radio. It won't just be me. It'll be a Parasearch thing. It won't just be me. It'll be the whole Parasearch team. So it's not just a me thing. So I just want to make that clear, everybody, before anybody goes, what? No, it's the whole Parasearch team. It's not just me.
Well, if it was up to me and Luke, it would just be you, baby. You know it's true.
Yeah, but you know, you're a little biased, right? But you haven't. So you met Gemma now, and Gemma's amazing, right?
Yeah, she's great. I love her.
Exactly.
I wish I should just shut up and let you two talk. I don't even need to talk.
No, it's a Parasearch Radio thing, and we are evolving, and any future projects that take part under the ASY Paranormal will be a Parasearch network situation.
See, that's awesome, and that's the gimmick of this network. It's not just about us trying to put Wrestling with Ghosts out there because we're already out there.
Well, you're already out there anyway. But there's other shows within ASI too, like the UFOs and there's bits of crypto in there too, isn't there?
There's old movies, B movies are on the thing. There's a show called One Step Beyond, which was the precursor and actually a lot. Just literally just more insane than the Twilight Zone. It's an old American 50s show that's just wacky and zany there, and it's just unbelievable. The plot lines, a lot of their shows have turned into movie plot lines in later years. But and this platform is not just for people to watch scary TV; it's for people who want to make it. If you make short films, we have those too. If you make long, full-length featured films. If you are an investigative team, and we have several of those up there, if you have an investigative team and you film yourself, you can be on the show, podcast, and we want this to be a hub. And in the United States right now, we have a map that is an interactive. It's going to be an interactive map where you can basically click on the state and see all the haunted locations that we can get information on, and that can help your investigative group. And then there's ghost stories that people can post, and if you're a paranormal investigative team, you can have a spot on there. And so if somebody needs some help, and you're in Akron, Ohio, and you're the Akron Ghostbusters, and there's something strange going on in the neighborhood, they can call you.
Oh no, you went there with the Ghostbusters.
Hey man, it just comes out. I don't even know. You know what's funny? I don't even like that movie. I know it's probably un-American of me. I like Bill Murray. I like Harold Ramis. I like them all, but I don't know. That movie I always thought was overrated. But I don't know, the green slime or something. I don't know. It was just, I don't know. Maybe I'm too metrosexual
is
or
that
something.
Ectoplasm just too much for you, Vinny?
It is. I just imagine it looks like baby diarrhea or something. I don't want to mess with it. Just kind of rubs me the wrong way. But yeah, we want ASY Paranormal, man, to be a hub. And because in America, cable television is dying and reality TV is dying, and especially paranormal, even though we got contacted by A&E again, we know that's not going anywhere because they're going to sit there and go, wow, these guys are great. Nope.
Is A&E like a TV channel, a TV station over there? It's
arts and entertainment. Back when it first came out, they actually were they were almost like a British station before we had BBC over here. They had a lot of Agatha Christie and Hercule Poirot, but then they got famous. I don't know if you ever heard of Duck Dynasty, but that was huge over here, which was a ridiculous show. A bunch of rednecks that had long beards and made duck whistles, and that was a TV show. And that was a huge hit in America for about 5 or 6 years. So they're looking for some sort of reality show to take the place of that. And there's very few now that are very, very good. And actually, I prefer a lot of the ones on ASY Paranormal because if you sign up for $2.99 a month, I think that's like 75 quid. No, I'm just kidding. What would that be? That'd be about 3.5 quid, 4 quid, something like that. You just get hooked up. You're supporting independent people's dreams. And you're helping save the genre of paranormal television because cable television is tanking it, to be honest with you.
And you're going to be getting real investigations, right?
That's right. There's all of us is sworn an oath, no faked evidence, nobody pulling hanky-panky, all the stuff you see. And again, I don't know why. The paranormal people like us, or the ghosts, or the hobgoblins, or the voodoo priests, or whoever. But for some reason, when we get together, the Wrestling with Ghosts crew, we get unbelievable amounts of evidence. And even last night, I'll break the fourth wall with you. Okay, we launch Friday, and we're launched Friday, and so Luke sends me. We have a wrestling show that night because we're still pro wrestlers.
Okay.
So we beat the crap out of these dudes and leave and get paid, and we go eat, and then I go home. He can't get a hold of me on the phone, and I get a message from my wife. Call Luke ASAP. And he's like, dude, there's a guy. He's a production company. And he says A&E's interested in us again. And so we sent him a sizzle reel we made for the Travel Channel. He hated it. So I spent 10 hours today making a new sizzle reel for A&E. And the entire time, I'm like, God, this is just not worth my time. Because I've got ASY Paranormal. I don't even want to be on Discovery or Destination America or Travel Channel or anything anymore, because I've got what I want. This is it. There's a whole network, and if you're an independent filmmaker, you can have your own show, and you don't have to bend to the people that make television. Mm-hmm. And the stuff they put out there, most of it is terrible. It's unbelievable. Like you said, you don't even watch it anymore.
No.
I'm a musician. I don't go see live bands. I'm a wrestler. I don't watch the WWE, and I'm a paranormal investigator with a TV show, and I don't watch that stuff either. I should. I just can't bring myself to do it. I'd rather do almost anything else, to be honest, than those three things.
Yeah, you see, occasionally I'll watch a show. If I've got an acquaintance on it, I will then watch that show because, you have to show support, right?
Yeah, well, that's fun when you watch a friend or something, yeah.
So I'll watch it, but whether or not I'll watch it as a regular occurrence is a whole different story, but I'll watch it so I can say, well done, guys.
Well, let me ask you this. How often does your friend or your colleague get on there and they misrepresent what they say, or they lie about what their position is?
Well, that's not for me to judge, is it? Because I'm not there at the time of filming. So, I mean, don't get me wrong. I completely agree with what you're just saying there. I've been there myself. I've done an interview in a newspaper, and very little of what I said was actually printed, and it was transformed to fit their criteria, which is great. And then I also did what we call Good Morning Britain at the beginning of this year, and it's just like a 5-minute segment where we went on to talk about females in the paranormal.
Hot.
Well, you say that, but it really wasn't. They opened it with the Ghostbusters theme tune, and at that point, literally, the four of us out of the 7 that should have been going, the 4 of us that actually did go, as soon as they said to us, we'll be opening with the Ghostbusters theme tune, we all looked at each other and went, are you kidding me?
I hate that too. And I'm given the levity, but it bothers me.
You see, it's just... that one joke, who you gonna call? Well, somebody else, love, because if you come into me with that, then I'm done already. Don't bother.
Well, that's the thing. I was a musician, and we traveled. I was in a successful band that traveled quite a bit, and they would interview us, and they'd be like, dude, do you like to rock? And I'd be like, yeah. Oh, yeah, cool. Do you like to rock hard, man? Yeah. And then we'd read the paper, and it'd be like, Pippin Ain't Easy supports the beatings of pygmies in Africa. And you're like, what the hell? We didn't say that. And that's when I started getting a heavy distrust of the media. It was like, and I'm not one of these conspiracy theorists or anything, but I just think people are terrible at their jobs. Mm-hmm. So it's like, okay, we got ghost hunters on. Okay, we'll play the Ghostbusters theme. That's funny.
Exactly right. And it's so not funny. It's boring. Don't get me wrong. There is people out there that will go along with the whole Ghostbusters, but they're not the research side of it. Do you know what I mean? They're not the people that want the paranormal field to progress further. They're not the people that are going to come back with some outstanding evidence or contribution to that paranormal field. These are the people that are going to see a airborne particle and call it an orb.
Yeah, that exact man. Thank you for that.
Oh, you're welcome.
We make fun of that all the time. I mean,
oh yeah, we do too.
Orbs are extremely, extremely rare, and they may not even exist. And the thing,
but then ghosts may not exist. We could be projecting all of this ourselves.
Absolutely, and that's what we even say that. You know, ghosts is in the name of our show, but we talk about all. We have no idea what we're fooling with. I mean, can you imagine? I've never thought of this before, but let's just let my imagination fly.
Oh, easy there, Tiger.
Well, okay, I won't talk about you and carrying me in a hot tub. We'll talk about something else. Let's talk about, let's just pretend we're in a place and there are creatures. There's a book called Out of the Silent Planet, and your own C.S. Lewis wrote this book, and he mentioned creatures called, I think they're pronounced illidels or something. But they're very, very hard to see. Like the light has to catch them just so, and you can kind of see them moving around. And they're very intelligent creatures, but they kind of go through dimensions. But what if they're angels or these illidels or something that are and they just see a bunch of people going into an abandoned school, and they know that we can't perceive them. They're like, you want to screw with these kids tonight or what? And they're like, yeah, I got nothing else to do. And so they go in and they're just like, oh, mercury. And then, Zach Baggins is like, did he drink mercury? Was there mercury in the water that he drank and he's dead now? Oh my God, there's mercury poisoning here.
Yeah, but you just missed something that was crucially important for that bit. Dude, it's a demon.
Yeah. Well, that's the reason I'm not ever going to poop on Ghost Adventures is it's the best comedy on television. You got a guy with huge arms. He doesn't work his body out right. He just works out his arms. Everything else looks weird on his body. So that's all he does, lift dumbbells or something, and his back and his stomach and his butt and all that stuff looks weird. So he's kind of a dork, and he goes in with that, he's big guy. Hey, if there's somebody in here, you like picking on ladies, pick on me, dude. And then, a broom scoots 3 inches because of the wind, and he runs out of the room screaming. That's the best comedy on television. So I'm never going to totally shoo it. I just don't think it's...
Well, you see, we had this conversation right at the start. We can't completely discount these people because at the end of the day, they're bringing more and more people into the field. Whether it be for the right or wrong reasons, it's irrelevant. Well, the more people that we've got out trying to progress the paranormal field, the better, surely.
Well, it has a negative effect, but I will say the Ghost Adventures movie, which was before they had the show, was phenomenal. I loved that. I thought it was very well done. And then, of course, that's the thing. You string it out, you make tons of shows. They're not as interesting. It took 3 years to make that movie or 2 years, and now they got to do, 20 episodes a year. So it's going to get lame after a while. But, so, you got... This is another thing. Like we're talking about, we don't know what we are investigating. Like the other day, and I'll do this real quick because I know we're running out of time. But we're in a place. Luke just so happens to get these things called goat ankles, which is, I think, and forgive me if I'm wrong, but I think they're not Mongolian. It's a Mongolian game, and shamans or something would roll these goat ankles and how they would land. These are real goat ankles. It would tell you things, but basically it was a magic 8-ball. It's like, will Carrie Greenway and I ever make out? And I'd roll it and it'd be like, ask me tomorrow. It was just bull crap, but it was a way to sit there. There was like a little sheet and you could say, okay, 4 of these laying this way and 2 of these laying this way means this. So we go and we investigate this place in Georgia called Hell's Bar Dam. And it's an abandoned dam and powerhouse. And so these women, we've never been with mediums before either. Most of the time it's extra large, if you know what I'm talking about. No, these mediums were with us. And so they're telling us that there's a thing called a Wendigo, which is a Native American legend of like a human body, a steer head, and goat ankles and goat feet. And it was just a coincidence. And they said, these things are all over this place, these spirits of these Wendigos, which I don't know if any of this is true. But we're doing a thing where, and like I said, we do comedy. So we're rolling the goat bones. And every time we roll, I'm acting like a petulant kid. And I just go, Yahtzee! And everybody's getting more on. And it's a stupid comedy bit, but that's what we use to kind of get the spirits jiving with us or whatever. Because we don't go in yelling at them. We try to have fun with them. So they with the show, they kicked me off. Now, we do have skits that are different than the reality stuff that we do. So they kicked me off, and I'm like, okay, I'm a man, thank God, because I can go over here in this corner and relieve myself. If I was a girl, I'd have to go all the way back to the bathroom or just kind of be gross and squat. So I go over in the corner, and it's like a drain pipe, and I'm trying to aim. That's another good thing about being a guy. We can actually play like little games while we urinate. Like, I'll see if I can get that in here. So I'm trying to hit the drain pipe, and I hear this thing going, and it's coming out of the side, and there's nothing up there. We're on like a third story of an abandoned powerhouse, and I come out, and they're doing the rolling the goat bones, and they're shooting a segment. I'm like, good, I don't want to interrupt nothing, but did you hear that? And the two mediums like, yeah, we heard growling. What is that? I said, I just went in there and urinated. I think it's mad at the size of my member. And Luke, who's 7 feet tall, goes, well, if they're angry at yours, they're going to hate mine. And so he gets up and he goes in there and he pees in there as well. And we film it. It's nothing dirty. Don't get excited, Carrie. But he urinates in the corner and the same thing growls. And it's great television. And it's funny, but it's also paranormal. And that's what Wrestling with Ghosts is about, is just a lot of the absurdity of this. But it made me think, what if we don't know what's really in there? What if it's like a guy's living room or a spirit's living room and he's watching the Super Bowl or something of whatever sport is in his dimension? And I just walk in there and like, doo-doo-doo, and I'm urinating on the Doritos, I mean, I don't know. We don't know what's really happening. And he's like, get the hell out.
I'm not being funny, but I totally agree. Urinate on my food and I will not be happy.
Right. And it's like, I didn't know how we were crossing dimensions. I have no idea. But whatever that was, that whatever invisible thing did not like the fact that I was urinating in his house. And if he's listening tonight on his space internet radio, I apologize, sir. And I apologize that Luke did it too. He probably moved after that.
He put his house on for sale on
That's right. Ghostzillow.com. He just put it up there. I'm selling this cheap. It's haunted by human beings.
Oh dear. Oh, Vinny. Oh, we are coming right to the end of the show. Vinny, can I just thank you so much for joining me tonight? And a massive thank you to Kerry as well, because it was Kerry that set this interview up for me. So, Kerry, thank you so much for putting me in touch with Vinny. Is she there?
She's smoking one.
No, I'm here. Well, you're welcome. You're very welcome.
Are you urinating in the corner?
I was urinating in the corner, yeah, sorry.
There you go.
In all fairness, though, she was watering the bush, so.
Yeah,
I've started a new trend in Europe, hopefully.
Well, let's hope not. I'm not being funny. I don't want many people coming in my house and urinating in a corner.
Yeah, that's true. I'm sorry. Don't do that, folks.
I'm all right, Vinny, but thanks for the offer. I've got a perfectly good working toilet through there. Yeah. Feel free. Seriously, though, Vinny, thank you so much for joining me tonight. It's been an absolute pleasure. I have posted a link for ASY in the chat room, so anybody listening can subscribe. And if you do miss any shows on the Parasearch Radio, head over to Spreaker and YouTube, where you can catch every single show that has ever gone out. There is also an archive folder over on YouTube for past shows. Go check it out, guys. Don't forget to click like, share and subscribe. And from me, it is good night. Vinny, Kerry.
Hey, thank you for the opportunity. And, man, I'm humbled by getting on great programs like this. You've got a wonderful voice. If you ever want to record yourself reading the Bible or the phone book, I'll listen to it all night long. Just shoot it over to me.
Well, it'll be the one sure way to make you fall asleep quick. That is for sure.
And it's good night from me.
Good night, guys.
Thank you for listening.
Don't forget to join us for more shows throughout the week. Find us on Facebook, Twitter, and the World Wide Web to keep up to date with all the shows right here on Parasearch Radio.